into the NFL draft. Obviously, when we're recording this, it's 2 days away. 2021 draft. Dallas Cowboys fan, Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
We them boys.
Not a real diehard, but I like the Packers. I like the Saints. So, kind of have some interest in who they're going to pick. But so what we've done is we have essentially taken 8 different mock drafts across CBS, Pro Football Focus, ESPN's Todd McShay, Mel Kiper,
the top
NBC
football,
Sports.
Either way, the top football
247
mock drafts.
Yeah, anybody that you will online see a mock draft for, and we have condensed them
into our own mock draft,
into our own Beer Bacon Bros mock draft.
And basically, we've picked like the first pick overall. Everybody was picking Trevor.
Yeah.
But if it was 5 chose Trevor and 2 chose someone else, we leaned towards the person that appeared the most. So it's kind of like we took the average, not the average, we took the
majority,
the most, whichever one showed up the most.
Yeah. And we're all going to feel free to give opinions outside of the pick as well. Like if you think a team should take somebody else, or you don't think it's a good player. I mean,
it's basically just a way for us to convey what we think is the consensus of what's predicted to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So
and we've got if you're listening to this, we've got a good little slideshow with this that we're going to have on the YouTube video. If you're watching the YouTube video, you're going to see this in a couple seconds. So
yeah,
I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
So either way, it was consensus overall. Trevor Lawrence is the first overall pick. He is going to Jacksonville without a doubt. Sorry, Trevor. But he will be in the Sunshine State with his old Sunshine Flow.
I think if he'd go anywhere else, he'd be like we've said it before. He'd be the next Andrew Luck. He's just going to be there. He's going to have a presence in the league for a long time. Never going to really seal the deal. But I feel like if he's not traded out of Jacksonville quickly and they don't turn it around, like if one of those two doesn't happen, he's going to be one of those that talent just gets burned out of a shitty team, and it's just going to kill him.
Either that, or he's going to become kind of the next Deshaun Watson and be like, hey, I want to get out of here. Like, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, he's going to force some sort of trade.
So I know that's a Clemson to Clemson reference, but that really is the best kind of reference I can. Ryan Tannehill would be the other one. He was frustrated in Miami and said, hey, I'm ready to go. And they got him to Tennessee.
What's the rookie contract? 4 years? At least
it depends, actually, but his will probably be somewhere between 4 and 5 years. Yeah, he's the first overall pick.
After that,
he's going to go in there swinging for the fences on the rookie contract.
After that, either he's looking to get big money, depending on how he does, or like you're saying, if Jacksonville hadn't helped him out in the next 3 to 4 years, he's looking.
If he doesn't go out there and shit the bed, I'll be surprised if he doesn't ask for max contract in 4 or 5 years, because QBs in 4 to 5 years, their contracts are going to be beyond our belief from right now.
Ridiculous.
They're already exponentially growing.
Probably
so it's even going to be worse. Yeah,
probably
it's going to be worse.
I mean, Pat Mahomes already basically got a $50 million deal, but it's going to become like the top 5 have $50 million deals.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've already acquired Marvin Jones Jr. in free agency, so they have him another receiver to go with D.D. Westbrook, and Chark and some of the other guys that they've added. $100 million in cap space. It will give Urban Meyer a little bit of wiggle room to kind of add some things for him. So obviously they may win 4 games next year, but
I mean, I think they're kind of in the same scenario, which leads into the next pick as well in the Jets. But they need to keep a healthy line to help protect Trevor Lawrence, and I think so. I guess so. Was everybody consensus that Zach Wilson is going to?
Everybody is consensus that Zach Wilson will be the number 2 overall pick to the Jets. 6'2", so a little bit undersized, I guess. He's more Aaron Rodgers-esque with the 6'2", 215, but the quarterback out of BYU. Really, I mean,
so
I don't know what to say to this.
My whole thing was I thought Sam Darnold's not great by no means, but I don't think I think the Jets could have stuck with him because they did pick up a top lineman last year with their first round draft pick, and I definitely think they could have went and got a top lineman this year. To beef up the line though, but to then help Sam Darnold out, be protected.
So I agree with that, but I think the reason why they're going with Wilson is the reason I'm gonna say I think he's gonna do good. It's just because he's the unexpected underdog. No one expected him to be number 2 overall, but I think he's going to show that he is worth the number 2 overall pick. And I don't think the Jets want to take the chance of missing this opportunity. Yeah.
I mean, what ended up happening, I think, is obviously, Justin Fields was initially everybody said Trevor Lawrence is 1, Justin Fields is 2 coming into basically leaving last year and doing the really early mock draft picks. But
Well, hell, after the national championship, people thought Fields was going to take over as number one.
Yeah, and I mean the problem ended up becoming is people. I don't know why, and we'll talk about this as we get through it, but I don't know why people have kind of moved away from Justin Fields, but they have.
Did they?
And
they just weren't impressed with his pro day, right?
Yeah, I mean they give all kinds of excuses. I mean now they're saying he has epilepsy and all kinds of things, but I mean what happened?
But if he was to be this number 2 quarterback, how often is it that you have more than one pro day though? As far as like make it known that hey, like once you have your first pro day, like that's what everybody's gonna watch and most scouts are gonna be at.
Yeah.
And so for Justin Field, like I knew he partook in Ohio State's second pro day.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was. I guess he felt like he had more to prove, and I think people were like, "What you did in your first day is the best we're gonna see."
Yeah. I mean, I'm a guy that's like, yo, you have 2 years worth of tape on this guy. Like, let's put the tape on. Let's like watch what he does in a game. But anyway, Zach Wilson, people were questioning, what his real size was because BYU had him, as always, schools have you listed taller, bigger, faster, stronger. And they had him listed at 6'3", 225. So his height measurable was a big important thing. This is his official numbers from not only his pro day, his pro day because they did the NFL Combine, but so 6'2" and 1/8 and 215, which is completely fine. That's Aaron Rodgers size. And that's what a lot of people are kind of comparing him to is
as far as the big arm and everything.
Big arm, enough mobility to make things happen. That Johnny Manziel-esque of when a play breaks down, he's able to make something out of nothing. So people just kind of fell in love with Zach Wilson. I think he's a great quarterback. I'm with you. And we've said this before. Trevor Lawrence, to me, his ceiling is Andrew Luck. Like if everybody will go back to when Andrew Luck was getting drafted, this guy was the next Jesus, basically. He was the next Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or whatever. And Andrew Luck had a good career. He didn't have a great career, a lot of injuries, some issues, with him that ended up making him retire fast. I think that's where Trevor Lawrence is going to get to. He's going to be as good as Andrew Luck. I don't think he's going to be the elite top 3 quarterback. And I think if things pan for Zach Wilson, I'll take the hot take of saying it right now on video. I think if things pan out correctly for the Jets, they draft well over the next couple of years and they put talent around him, he might really could be the next Aaron Rodgers.
All right.
But
I think Zach Wilson will do better than Trevor Lawrence if he gets
the help.
He gets the support he needs, or if not, goes to a different team.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah. Any more for Zach?
Nope. Get on Zach. The third pick.
This is the hot pick. Don't say the name yet. There's a lot going on with this. The 49ers traded up into number 3 where Miami was. They flopped picks, basically 12 and 3, and then a couple other draft picks. San Francisco obviously had to give up more for Miami to feel comfortable making that trade. And
Miami.
They moved back into the top 6 with Philadelphia.
Yeah, they've made a couple good moves to secure a couple.
Yeah,
picks.
They've got draft picks secured around.
I mean, Jacksonville's got 11, but Miami's got so many picks over this year and next year.
Yeah. So I thought they did a very good job to essentially drop 3 spots to where you're not losing out on a blue chip player, but then to secure 3-4 other picks in the process.
Exactly. So the third pick, everybody made this move, or when San Francisco made this move, everybody initially said it's Kyle Pitts. They're going after Kyle Pitts. They're getting Jimmy Garoppolo, this big tight end target, the next Jimmy Graham, the best tight end in the league, blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, everybody feels like Kyle Pitts is going to be the next basically Travis Kelce and just an all-world tight end, number 1 tight end in the league.
The boy's good. Yeah, the boy's good.
Kyle Pitts is going to be that.
Yeah.
He will be that.
We personally, as South Carolina fans, got to watch him absolutely destroy our defense. So,
when the tight end leaves the game being the number 1 receiver, it's just kind of like,
I've seen a couple tight ends just beat South Carolina, Stoneburner or whatever his name was out of A&M.
Yeah. But anyways, Kyle Pitts is that good, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But Kyle Pitts is not who we're actually seeing as projected as a 3rd overall pick. It basically came down initially when I made this last week, it was Justin Fields. And then thankfully I was paying attention yesterday morning and it flipped. Basically San Francisco came out and they said, hey, we're picking between Trey Lance and Mac Jones. And then when I relooked at everything, everyone said Mac Jones. And so 3rd overall pick, we're saying is going to be Mac Jones. There's
another Alabama quarterback being drafted high who probably would just have a trend of the previous Alabama quarterbacks and not do anything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, A.J. McCarron was the first one to throw a touchdown from Alabama in the NFL for like
40 years.
Yeah.
It was like legitimately 40 years.
Yeah, it was decades.
So
Mac Jones is good. I just don't think he's good enough.
Do y'all know the controversy that's going on with this, though?
No.
Okay, so if you're a 49ers fan, I really feel for you. But basically what's happening is Kyle Shanahan, the head coach for the 49ers, says, I want Mac Jones. He's my guy, right? And they traded up to get the 3rd overall pick before even really discussing who they were going to take, which is dumb. But Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, says, Mac Jones, he's my guy. This is who I want. He can run my offense. I've had success with, Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins and, these other pocket
who they're comparing him to?
Yeah, pocket passer style quarterback.
Just pro style.
Somebody that can manage the game, doesn't turn the ball over, makes the right decisions, doesn't obviously have any athleticism. I mean, Mac Jones is as slow as 38-year-old Peyton Manning, but
Big Ben. He was as slow as Big Ben.
He's as slow as current Big Ben, yeah. And then the rest of the organization, including the general manager, wants to take Trey Lance. Everybody thinks that Trey Lance is this diamond in the rough. We don't know enough about him. He's got the superstar talent, the body size, all this other stuff.
So
they're literally fighting over who to take.
So is he? But what is he like the next Carson Wentz coming out of North Dakota?
No, he's completely different than Carson Wentz.
No. But as far as the big hype around him. Because everybody was hyped about Carson Wentz and what he did at North Dakota State.
Yeah.
And now
I feel like Mac Jones is going to be eerily similar. It's going to be
to Carson Wentz?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
It's going to be.
He was referring to Trey Lance, but
I think Mac Jones is going to be eerily similar to Carson Wentz. It's going to be a lot of hype. If he does make it somewhere, it's going to be because it was a team effort. Generally, was a team effort.
Yeah.
And then it's just.
He's going to fizzle out.
It's just going to fizzle. He's just going to end up going right to the middle of the. It's just going to be status quo QB, just middle of the road.
Matt Ryan at best, and that's actually kind of what Kyle Shanahan wants. He doesn't want a superstar that he has to handle. He wants somebody that's level-headed like Mac Jones, and they actually feel like they could plug in a quarterback and go to the Super Bowl. Like that's how good they think San Francisco is right now, run game wise. Deebo Samuel's, and then of course that defense. So we'll see. We think it's going to be Mac Jones. It could be Trey Lance. We know it's going to be one of those two. So
shocker, they are going with Kyle Pitts.
That's what somebody asked me today. They were like, "What if they really traded up to get Kyle Pitts and then I don't want to. Well, I'll go ahead and spoil it. So at the 4th overall pick, we are saying that Kyle Pitts will go to Atlanta. That's what everybody else is saying. This was like a 7 out of 8 agreeing on Kyle Pitts. What if they did take Kyle Pitts at 3 and then Atlanta's just sitting there like,
who do
what
we take?
do? I hope Atlanta's got a backup plan. So
yeah, it's called Hayden Hurst.
Well, I mean, that's my thing. For Atlanta, I'm not an Atlanta fan by any means. Atlanta, this is a pick where basically people are saying you're just going to take the best overall player. People have Kyle Pitts behind Trevor Lawrence as the literal best football player in this draft.
Oh, yeah. Kyle Pitts is a.
But Atlanta has to actually have that conversation with himself. You've got Hayden Hurst, who's he's a dependable, he's an everyday, every down tight end.
He's a top 10 tight end in the NFL.
Yes. So why would you go and pick with the 4th pick overall another tight end?
Well,
having two of the top 10 tight ends in the league would be really great to have.
But if you're not,
if every other position sucks,
I'm gonna say if you're not
doing yourself any
running
favors.
a 2 tight end set on offense. Probably.
I mean, Kyle Pitts will probably actually flex out. I really do think that Kyle Pitts will play
slot guy.
Yeah, he'll play.
He'll move out to the slot, or he's just 3 feet off the line, kind of just. It's almost going to look like he's lined up at tight end, but he's not. Kind of weird thing.
Some NFL GMs have apparently said that they think he could be the next Calvin Johnson. He's got the big enough body that if he works his way into being fast enough to be that X wide receiver, he can do that. Again, 6'5", almost.
He could
6'6".
be the outside receiver.
The guy's basically 6'6", 6'5" and 5'8", 245. I mean, this dude's a monster.
If he gets fast enough, he could be the guy running down the sidelines. Just you just got to get over the DB. That's the only thing you got to do.
Throw the ball up.
Yeah, just get it over. Get it over the defender.
Yeah. So I mean, for me personally, when I look at it, I'm like, Atlanta, you need cornerback, you need defensive line, you need linebacker, you need offensive line. You have Julio Jones, you have Calvin Ridley, you have Hayden Hurst. I mean, maybe draft you. You're not going to do it at the 4th overall pick, but man, draft you a freaking like great running back somewhere. So people have said that the Patriots have obviously shown interest in getting Julio Jones.
So, but either way,
you know who I see Kyle Pitts being if he could get a little bit faster?
Who?
He could be just like Chase Claypool. I just looked it up because I was wanting to confirm it.
Yeah, Chase
There's
Claypool
only
is
there's
about
only
the same size.
there's only 1 inch difference, and the weight's almost the same.
Chase Claypool actually played a little bit of tight end in college too.
Yeah.
So,
but
very
either
similar.
way, so is it a consensus though that Atlanta's just looking to draft the best player at the fourth? Like,
If they go Kyle Pitts, that's all they were doing.
From what we're seeing, exactly
it's
what Alex
just
just said.
it's
If they
just
go
who
Kyle
the best
Pitts,
player is at that point in time.
They literally were like, okay, Mel Kiper's big board. Okay,
that's the guy.
first available Mel Kiper's big
Yeah.
board. That's what they're going to go for.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and roll into the fifth pick.
Yep.
Yeah.
So fifth pick, Cincinnati Bengals. Little controversy here right now as this is kind of changed in the last 4 or 5 hours. So I didn't have time to make the adjustment, but we are seeing and saying beforehand Penny Sewell or Sewell. That's how
Sewell,
I would say it.
something like that.
Sewell, who is the offensive tackle from Oregon, 6'6", 330. I mean, from what I read on this guy, this is the best offensive lineman that has come out of college football in the last 15 years. Now,
From what they're saying and what I've seen too, I would agree.
I mean, and he's like, I watched a little bit of his tape on Sunday when I was kind of making this.
Where on the line is he playing?
He's a left tackle.
He's left tackle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, which would be a huge thing for Joe Burrow, who, by the way, just tore his ACL last year because the Cincinnati
And Joe Burrow
offensive
is
line so
right-handed,
terrible.
right?
Yeah,
so that'd be
the right
that'd be a hell of a blindside tackle out there to have blocking you.
How big?
6'6", 330.
How big was Michael Orr?
Michael Orr was actually like 6'8", 350, but I mean, that was just. I mean, when you get to this,
That was a
size,
freak of
you're
nature,
fine.
okay?
Yeah.
Well, no, I was just saying because I was about to say, as far as talent wise and the way they move like footwork wise. I feel like they both kind of compare.
Yeah.
It's comparable. The two of them.
He's especially in that Oregon
At
offense.
that size. That's why I was asking how big.
Good luck seeing over his ass though, trying to dump down to the left side.
Not a chance. Yeah. I mean, but for Oregon's offense, their offensive linemen are very athletic because of a lot of the stretch runs, the motion. I mean, the kind of
they're a high speed offense.
They are.
Yeah.
And so you
gotta
have
be able to
somebody
keep up.
You have somebody that is an elite athlete at left tackle with the right size, with the pass blocking ability.
He's probably like one of the more well conditioned linemen out there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and it's not even like his grade is basically like a 98, and the next offensive lineman's is like a 94. It's not even close right now.
Yeah,
So-
big gap.
I guess the next.
So I think if this really does happen here, I think that's that's an A pick.
So
That's an
I
A
guess
plus.
I
pick.
guess when it first came out, like after college football ended, and the Bengals weren't exactly sure whether they were going to take a receiver, take lineman, whatever they were going to. They had him falling almost all the way down to 10 at one point in time.
Yeah, so there I have now seen in the last.
So it's kind of like a
hours-
Bengals or bust for this dude.
Well, it all depends.
Well, like if it's not the
As
Bengals,
far-
he'll probably
just-
fall a good bit.
yeah.
The way it played out as far as what teams needed,
He just happened to hit. He's going to fall that far.
it fell to like an
I-
8, 9, 10 spot.
I don't
for-
think he will. Like I
think
he
if it comes down to like 7 or 8, whoever's there, they'll probably be like, you know what, hell, let's get this offensive
No,
lineman.
I don't think there's any way he makes it past the next pick at 6. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, this is the controversy between the two. It's either Penny Sewell or Jamar Chase. A lot of people are thinking Jamar Chase because of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase playing together at LSU. They already have that relationship.
Yeah, so
It'd be a
we're
great
saying
combination.
Jamar Chase is going.
What we've built out is we're saying that Jamar Chase is going 6.
to Miami.
He
Yeah.
could go 5 to the Bengals. Those are the two that the Bengals are basically picking from. At the time I built it, I would say that's Penny Sewell. I still think that they would go offensive line, but either way, these two guys are going off the board at 5 and 6. Whether it's Chase
But either-
first and then Sewell, or Sewell first and then Chase.
Because I guess
Because-
the next top lineman, I guess, and he's more of an interior, either guard, center, was that Rashad Slaughter out of
For
Northwestern.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So he's later in our draft pick, but Jamar Chase. And people have kind of knocked this draft a little bit because there's not a huge, by a huge receiver, I mean actually like 6'4" big guy. You know what I mean? I mean, it's Kyle Pitts, obviously, is that hybrid, but Jamar Chase is at 6 foot. Jalen Waddle's at like 5'11". Devonta Smith's at 6 foot. Rashad Bateman at Minnesota is 6'1".
I say you're looking a lot of like AB size guys.
Yeah.
Right at that 6 foot mark.
Yeah. And but I tell you what, they're extremely talented guys. I mean, you can make the argument that Devonta Smith is better than Jamar Chase, or Jamar Chase is better than Devonta Smith, and those two are definitely the top two, and then you see some more falling off. But Miami,
just the explosiveness from Devonta Smith would put him above Jamar Chase.
the size is what they're knocking, right? You see Jamar Chase at 6 foot and 3/8, 201. Devonta Smith weighed in at 166.
What's a big difference in the
That's
NFL? Huge difference.
Yeah, I mean you got guys in high school that are bigger weight wise at receiver than that guy, and I don't mean just any I mean talented wide receivers in high school. So, but Jamar Chase would be exactly what Miami needs. I mean, Tua needs somebody that he can throw to that is
stretch the field with.
He needs a threat,
and I don't mean this in any disrespect to any of the guys in Miami, but he needs somebody that can beat number one corners, and so Jamar Chase would definitely kind of make sense for that pick.
Yeah, I agree with that.
At 7, Detroit, this is where people can start to see a possibility of people trading up. If somebody likes Trey Lance, if somebody really likes Justin Fields, they see that Detroit can move out. I mean, this makes total sense. God forbid if Jamar Chase actually makes it to 7, I would say he probably goes here. They have to take wide receiver if they're taking somebody. You've already seen Kenny Golladay go to New York. He's with the Giants now. Marvin Jones Jr., like we talked about earlier, is in Jacksonville. So they have nobody wide receiver. They have their top 2 guys who probably made up maybe close to 2,000 yards where the production last year with Matthew Stafford are now gone. Obviously, Matthew Stafford's gone. They brought in Jared Goff. But so for them, you get the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean,
yeah, you got to go about it. There's who was their number 3 receiver? Was it Danny Amendola?
I think it actually was Danny Amendola.
It was.
If we're being I
think it was. But I think with Devontae Smith,
sad.
we did just harp on his weight. They could easily, within 2 weeks, get him up to 180.
Yeah,
You would
easily.
I mean, you say that, but how did he not get up to 180 in Alabama's weight and conditioning nutrition program? I mean, that's the best in the country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think he performed well enough at 160. They were like, let's not screw this up and
that's
make
what I'm
him
saying.
fat.
They probably let him get to 170. They're like, all right, he's doing. This is where he needs to be. He's where he needs to be.
Okay.
Who are you to go tell the Heisman Trophy winner he needs to improve his conditioning?
that's exactly like. I know
you're the best player in the country, but you're not big enough for us.
But now
it's the next level. He needs to get that weight.
I understand this is 2 different sports, but I was like when McGregor tried to go up to 185 or whatever it was to fight
Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
It affects your body differently.
He looked a little slower. That might be his natural walking around weight, but his fighting weight's 155.
Yeah.
And Devontae Smith, he might perform better at 160. He may have gotten up heavier, and they saw a reduction, and they're like, "Hey, no, you need to cut that weight back down."
Yeah. So they may have tried to put on weight.
If that's not the case, NFL conditioning guys, they can get him up to 190 almost in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
In the offseason,
in a healthy 192.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll be fine.
How much muscle mass you think DK put on once he got to the NFL?
I don't know because he had 0.00%.
It's whatever the amount that Hercules had.
Yeah,
it's whatever amount Hercules had. If you calculate his, that's how much he put on.
Yeah, whatever DK did work for him because he went to that combine and people were like, "Oh my God, this dude is a god."
I'm moving to my on deck beer.
Yeah, that's fine. So.
But yeah, like you're saying, I think he could easily get up to that 175, 180 range. But if you start seeing a loss in production, I would be like, all right, play at the 170.
Yeah, I think with Detroit, Devontae's not he might play slot a little bit. He might be just the number 2 on the inside, and he's going to do a lot of across the middles, quick slant stuff like that. Just because of his talent and his speed, you're not going to have to throw him a deep ball. He can do 20-yard stuff. He can do the deep stuff you need him to, but I think the smart play for them would be just doing 15, 20-yard stuff. That's going to be his that's going to be where he thrives. Yeah.
Well, people, especially even in college, Sark, kind of showed you that the best way to get Devonta Smith open is a little bit of that motion. It is some of the quick slants. This is the bunch formations. Can he go up one-on-one on the line and can he actually beat a Richard Sherman in the NFL one-on-one on the line? No, not at that weight, not at that size. But if there are things offensively you can do to get him open and not let corners just basically plant their feet and put their hands on him the moment the ball snaps.
Yeah.
So there's some things that they can do there to get him open. And I think it's a great pick. If Detroit does end up doing this, I think it's the thing they have to have for Jared Goff to even be successful this year. So
yeah.
On to the next pick.
Yeah, at 8, the Carolina Panthers. This is a pick where people are actually, multiple sources were saying that the Panthers would be willing to move out of this pick if Penny Sewell doesn't fall to them at 8. Obviously, the Panthers need offensive line. They just went and got Sam Darnold. They feel like Sam Darnold is a little bit of the guy that they, want to come in and battle Trevor Bridgewater, or Teddy Bridgewater. Sorry, not Trevor. But the thing that I saw and started reading a little bit over today, now that San Francisco has basically said that they're not going to take Justin Fields, is that the Panthers are interested in Justin Fields. So to bring in 3 quarterbacks,
I think is a little
much.
Overkill. Overkill.
It's overkill, especially when you're using a top 10 pick to do it.
Yeah, I mean,
there's so many other people, so many other positions.
I know Kuechly's been out now for a little bit, but I know they hadn't replaced a linebacker position.
The only thing I can think of is if
Davis.
they come in and pick Justin Fields, then they use him as some sort of trade bait or something like that.
Kind of like Atlanta does with pitchers.
Yeah.
Just pick up random pitchers.
Yeah, the Braves just pick up a pitcher and be like, hey, I mean, you can go in the locker. I wouldn't unpack or nothing like that.
But you're probably going to get traded.
Carolina should go a different route at QB if they don't plan on dumping the other 2.
Yeah,
at least one of the other 2.
I do think they're willing to move on from Teddy Bridgewater. If somebody were willing to take that contract and give them basically anything for Teddy Bridgewater, I think they would take it at this point. It doesn't make sense to me, because if you trade to go get Sam Darnold because you actually think that Sam Darnold could be the future for your organization, then why would you draft Justin Fields? I mean, I get it. You get to push him. You get to guarantee yourself that you got a quarterback that is going to actually start your games next year and be successful. Because, I mean, out of the 3, one of them's got to be freaking good.
You would think.
You would think. But
I mean,
I do think a Penny Sewell.
I think Carolina needs help on the defensive side more than they do at the.
They've drafted a lot on the line. They need the help in the secondary.
Yeah.
Thomas Davis is basically taking over for Luke Kuechly, and he's doing just as good a job, basically. And they've drafted basically 2 defensive lines in the first 40 picks last year. So they've kind of filled that need.
But secondary, safeties, corners, that area.
You don't need 3
quarterbacks.
Starting quarterbacks. If they have Justin Fields, they'll legitimately have 3 quarterbacks that have had started multiple games in the NFL, and it's just, what's the point?
Yeah. So at this pick, if I were, I guess, Carolina, I would be looking Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn.
Yeah.
Who is the top safety?
Well, it's technically the kid from TCU that we'll get to in a second, but I mean,
Greg
Newsome at Northwestern is also another one that people.
But looking
for somebody in the DB or safety and stuff like that.
Somewhere, either free safety, strong.
I agree. That's a good route to go.
Yeah,
just to kind of help.
It's a little high as well, so. One of the other things that we've been seeing is that the Panthers are willing to trade out of this. And New England is obviously interested in moving up and getting Trey Lance or Justin Fields at this point.
I mean, you could do a 15 for an 8 trade or something like that.
Yeah, and you could get your safety or your cornerback at the 15 spot, unless it was somebody you just felt like you had to have. But Justin Fields, 6'2" and 3/4, 227. I personally look at this as he's the 3rd best quarterback. I think it is Trevor Lawrence. I think it is Zach Wilson, and I think it is Justin Fields from a managerial standpoint. Those were the 3 that I would take in that order. People have really fallen off the Justin Field train, and I don't know why or what. And
I think he's going to be the next brain fart. But I think he's going to be the next move. He's going to fit into this movement of these scrambling, agile quarterbacks that the NFL is getting a resurgence of.
I feel like he's a bigger size Russell Wilson. And I mean, maybe he's not as good as Russell. Like, Russell Wilson's great right now. But Russell Wilson.
Lamar Jackson was the name I was thinking of. He's going to be he's not going to be as electric as Lamar or Pat Mahomes, stuff like that. But he's going to be fitting in with Russell Wilson. He's going to be in that clubhouse with those guys.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to have a successful NFL career.
Mariota?
Yeah, like that. Early in his career, Marcus Mariota. Yeah, sure.
Justin Fields is going to have a successful NFL career because this agility that is becoming newfounded as being it's
another X factor.
Yeah, another X factor. It's another intangible. Yeah.
Yeah. People, from what I've heard, over the last 24 hours, people are just saying, well, he's coming from Ohio State. He's not going to work out because you can't name an Ohio State quarterback in the NFL right now that's good. Okay, I mean,
what does that mean?
People don't think Carson Wentz is great.
Yeah,
I mean,
there can't be another one that
there's a BYU quarterback in the NFL that's great right now. No, I mean, that's just a terrible take. So
It's like how do you hold that? Because I mean, like you've got quarterbacks like Ben Roethlisberger came from like Miami of Ohio, just like
exactly.
people can come out of nowhere. People are allowed to make
Delaware.
people are
Tony
allowed
Romo
to
was
be
from like
Eastern Illinois.
yeah, you're allowed to be the
I mean,
first of
Jimmy
whatever
Garoppolo's
because
from
I mean that's just the way it works. You know, he could be one of the first great quarterbacks to come out of Ohio State in the modern era or whatever.
yeah.
Who can't go off of that shit? That's just dumb. That's a
I
dumb
mean, but
take.
we said the same thing about Mac.
Hey, by the
Jones.
way, Jamarcus Russell was from LSU, and no other great LSU's quarterbacks ever come out. So you shouldn't draft Joe Burrow 1.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, granted, we did just say the same thing like Mac Jones, like you said, Adam, but I think it's a little bit different because Alabama's consistently putting quarterbacks into the first round almost, they consistently do nothing.
They
Well, I mean,
consistently
Ohio
have
State
great
does too.
quarterbacks
Ohio State
in
does.
college that for whatever reason don't pan out in the NFL.
Yeah.
Ohio State is too, but I mean, like, come
Well, Ohio State's not consistently winning national championships like Alabama is. And
No,
those
they're-
quarterbacks aren't consistently failing at the NFL level.
No, I guess they're not. So, over at the 9th pick, this is kind of a wild card. This is actually this is how diverse the 9th pick has gone. When I was looking at the mock drafts, literally not a single person agreed on who the Broncos would take at 9, which is kind of wild because I later in the draft, there's a pick where literally like 7 of the 8 said one guy in the 20s. So you're like, okay, well, that's probably
Well,
gonna
then
happen.
what that tells me here is I think we're going to see
A trade.
the trade.
Yeah,
Denver's going to trade it.
I do think this is going to be the Denver trade. People have said Trey Lance. Denver fans, I think, are tired of Drew Lock, and they don't feel like Drew Lock is good enough to be the future of the team. I don't think the front office or the team feel that way yet. Drew Lock has had his moments. If the Broncos were going to take somebody, I do think it would be Slater, just as you mentioned. Good job. Doing a little research over here. The number 2 offensive lineman in the draft, 6'4" and a quarter, 304 currently. Very mobile, Big Ten offensive lineman. Guy knows how to run block. I mean, it just kind of is what it is.
Big
So,
body on the inside.
yeah, and can play guard and tackle. And Denver really needs it. Their offensive line is horrendous. They drafted a guy like 2 or 3 years ago at the 20th pick that was from nowhere. I think he was from Utah, and the guy literally hasn't panned out, and they've already moved on from him. So, for Denver, makes sense to go offensive line. Really, honestly, makes sense to trade. I do think that New England, if they felt like Trey Lance was the guy, you've probably watched. Even if they trade up into 9, you're probably still going to have Justin Fields or Trey Lance. Maybe not by our projections, but I think it's a possibility. I think Denver trades out of this to whoever secretly wants that quarterback, because I feel like there's going to be somebody that secretly is like, man, Justin Fields. Like, hey, I know we got X quarterback, like we got Ryan Tannehill or something, but
He could be the next
Fields.
guy.
Yeah, you put Justin Fields and Derrick Henry running read options. I mean, woo! So that's what we have as in our mock draft at 9.
I'm going to say it's going to be a trade.
I agree with you. I actually probably, if we're going to take projections, I would say it's probably a trade too.
So all right.
This is the personal pick at 10.
For the boys.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you take over this one. You
All
go
right,
ahead and
so
read this one off. Tell me how excited you are about
I
this.
like what we're doing here. I do like the cornerback pick. What I want to see though, we have 2 veteran tackles coming off of season-ending injuries last year. One with the neck, one with the knee. I would like to have seen maybe an offensive lineman here, because we have last year alone 4 out of our 5 starters went down with injuries, and 3 of them was season-ending. So
Maybe y'all should draft a new strength and conditioning coordinator.
so what
At pick number 52.
Yeah.
So if either Slaughter or Slater or Sewell happen to drop, I would like to see them pick up one of those 2 at the 10th pick.
Over Patrick Surtain. By the way, our projection is Patrick
Is-
Surtain,
yes.
the cornerback out of Alabama.
Or I guess the other option would be J.C. Horn, right?
Both. So
So-
of the 8 mock drafts, 6 said Patrick Surtain, 2 said J.C. Horn. So
So-
you're pretty much guaranteed a cornerback. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I would like to see us, and with Dak Prescott coming off of his season-ending injury of a broken ankle.
Yeah.
So, I would like to see us replace the talent that we had at left tackle in Tyrone Smith. Like I said, he's either retiring or he's coming back off of a season-ending neck injury from last year.
Okay.
So I would like to see that, but we drastically need help in the secondary.
Yeah.
So for us to go cornerback here in either Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn, I would be fine with either one. Hometown favorite, J.C. Horn, being a Carolina fan.
Yeah.
But I do, of the corners, Patrick Surtain's got to be the best corner out there.
Patrick Surtain is the number 1 rated corner. And I think the only thing that gives him a little more edge over J.C. Horn is Surtain played safety early in his career at Alabama. He played a little bit of a strong safety early on his career until he moved down to the corner position. So I think he can help you at both spots in the secondary. Like he could transition to the NFL and play either one depending on what you need. He is bigger. He is at 6'2" and 1/8, so he can really hang with a lot of those receivers. 208 is a great weight for a corner. Can play physical on the line. And, I mean, I don't think either team, whoever you are, if you get Surtain or J.C. Horn or even Greg Newsome,
you're not going to be mad.
You're not going to be mad about it. You got a number 1 corner. You got a guy that can go one-on-one with people. So Surtain played – the defense that Alabama sometimes plays a little bit more zone than South Carolina did.
Yep.
So Surtain could play – he could fit into a defensive scheme kind of like what Seattle used to run, where you have one cornerback that basically covers the left side of the field. And so I do think that would probably maybe limit him a little bit if they just basically like, hey, Surtain, go cover the best wide receiver.
Well, I say, and being a Dallas, like they do run a lot of zone, and but they also they depend on their linebackers to match up more man to man. With us having supposedly a quicker linebacker core of the NFL, they do match up the linebackers man to man and let the corners and the safeties kind of play a zone. But I've always felt like in the past 3 seasons that I've always seen at least one corner that was always getting burnt.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah,
so
I think that's true.
So if we could have 2 solid corners, I think that would be ideal for Dallas at this pick at 10.
Okay.